Sione, have you told your family back home that you're pursuing foster care? What's their reaction if you have?
No, I didn't. Then most of them, they're back in the island, and I'm sure they will say, "Oh, it's interesting," but the process of doing it here is totally different. But I feel like for them, they might say, "Oh, okay, like somebody's coming to your home."
We did the virtual information session like 5 days before Christmas, so the poor people leading it was like the last day before everyone was going to go on holidays. Again, I had like read everything on the website for this, so most of what came up in the information session I was relatively familiar with, but it was really nice to hear from somebody directly to know that this is still how it works, and hear other people ask questions.
So the first step is to submit an application. After that, someone will reach out to you about scheduling a virtual first interview, and they're going to just go through questions and answer any questions that you have. After that, you'll get matched with a licensing specialist who will take it from there. So I'm a licensing specialist. The first step with me is to do an in-person first interview. So it's first interview part 2. And it's in your home, and I'll do a walkthrough of the house, ask questions, and answer any questions that you have. And when we do the walkthrough, I'll talk about how the house has to be set up.
I think that first interview was a good chance to really start talking about what we're doing and why we're doing this. Some of it had to articulate a little bit more what we were thinking. It was honestly kind of fun too to hear his answers to some of the questions, because while we've been obviously talking about it, some of the way he answered why he wanted to do this or various things were not unexpected, just not how I thought he was going to answer the question. So it's been really fun to kind of hear each other's perspectives as we continue to talk and be interviewed.
After that, you'll begin your MAP classes. That's kind of the biggest chunk of licensing, is going through the training, which is called MAP. That stands for Model Approach to Partnerships in Parenting. MAP lasts 5 weeks. It's 5 Saturdays.
Yeah, get ready to clear your Saturdays for 5 in a row. That was a lot. For the MAP training. We were kind of put into the MAP class pretty quickly after just the timing of when we applied and had our interviews. We got our call from our licensing specialist, and it was either start this Saturday and the next 5 Saturdays in a row all day, or wait until 2 or 3 months later to get started. And that was either, so we had to make a choice of, we've got our daughter, and we had to make sure we had people lined up to watch her for the next 5 Saturdays. And so I wasn't really expecting that to happen so quickly, or to be every weekend in a row.
Well, when they've been doing the training and all, I've been going to my aunt's or my grandma's. It's pretty good because I get to watch TV and play games and stuff. But
what made you agree to jump into the classes that fast? Why not?
Yeah.
What you want to answer?
For me, the question, first question, I would say, well, I would do it earlier, but the excitement and the will to do it is to help. Just do it early so we can
Get
going.
Yeah, I think that was I called him and we talked about it, and we didn't want to wait as long as it was going to be. I could have done 2 weeks later, and that would have been helpful. I think my favorite thing about MAP classes has actually more been meeting the other people who are going through this process, meeting the potential foster parents, as well as some people who are there purposely for the intention of adopting. So that's hearing their perspectives and why, and the way they answer questions. It's just been nice to meet and have that sort of building community of people who are starting this journey together. I really liked learning about shared parenting and the specifics of some of how that works, and how the different folks are involved in the process, the social workers and foster family and birth families and kid, obviously most important. So that's been my favorite things, I guess.
For me, it's a lot of information to take, but what interested to me is that how you how you parenting foster kids differently than your own kids, and all those kind of stuff, and how very fragile it is. And yeah, it's very interesting.
Honestly, I can't even imagine like doing my job without having taken MAP. I certainly can't imagine trying to parent a child who has experienced extensive trauma without having taken it. You're just gonna learn so much about what it's like to parent children who have experienced trauma. And you learn about attachments and how children form attachments, why they form attachments. You're going to learn about losses that kids experience, and not just the kids, but the birth parents. There's a lot of focus on birth parents, on shared parenting. All of that is just stuff that you wouldn't know. How could you know? And so it's just vital training.
We do both work full time. Now, I work from home and have a lot more flexibility in my schedule. Sione's schedule is just not all that flexible. And he can only sort of duck out so many times before they start, being more irked at him. So that's been a bit of a tricky balance to find. Like fingerprinting, for example, we have to get fingerprinted, and we need extra fingerprinting because we've lived in California as well. So we have multiple states we're having to do this for. And finding an appointment time nearby in an hour he can get there it's been tricky. So we've been trying to balance our excitement of like, let's go get licensed so we can have these kiddos in our home, and we also need to stay sane through this process so that we are sane when the kiddos come and that we're not stressed by the licensing process. So yeah, we've been working on that balance and letting ourselves. I think we just this past week said if it needs to slow down, then we can slow down and that'll be okay.
We make it work. We just find times to.
We did.
It's amazing how sometimes you thought that your schedule for the whole day is full, and then you just have that 1 hour you can tuck out and go get
Figure it out.
something moved.
Yeah.
But on that time, you just figure it out and
Yeah.
you just do it.
So what we have left, we have our second interview tomorrow, our last day of MAP training, and then the week after we'll have the medicine training. From there, there's still things we haven't been to. The fire stuff, we have to get CPR certified, more forms and just things we have to get in there. And then we'll have the final interview, walkthrough, whatever that one is. So I think those are the steps we have remaining.